Chris, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Kevin. Great to be here as always.
I'm thrilled to have you back. I gotta just tell people, if you're a regular viewer of my videos, and this man needs no introduction. I mean, we've got to talk on a couple of occasions. Came over for lunch the other day, as a matter of fact. Lunch over Zoom, by the way. It was lunch over Zoom. Okay, it was a very light lunch over Zoom. But in case this is your first visit to my website or YouTube, this is Christopher of Christopher Wyze and the Tellers. He and his band are taking the world of blues by storm. They have a new single just coming out here right now for Valentine's Day called Her Name in My Song, a new single. And we're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. But welcome back to the show, Chris.
Thanks, Kevin. Great to be here.
So before we dig too deep in, I just have to tell you this. I have to tell you how incredible your website looks. I was on your website this week, and some websites don't have much content. A lot,
Yeah.
musicians that they're on the road, they're touring. Maybe if they're lucky, someone in the family can do some work for them or on the website, or maybe they do it, or they have a company even. But I noticed so many times with band websites, and I'm talking about bands that have been around for 30 years and are, have play arenas, and you go to their website thinking, oh, they got that world tour starting, and it talks about the tour from 2 years ago. And you look for music news, and the last music news was in 2022. So I'm on that site and I'm looking around. There is so much content, and you could read for a long time. You could watch videos. I'm on there. I hope I didn't break the video because with my ugly mug here, but I
No,
was
dude, you're on there. Of course you're on there. I'm
and
proud to
I was
display that.
flattered by that. That was really neat. But a lot of sites don't have all that, and they'll send you to YouTube, or they'll just say go see my YouTube page or something,
Yeah.
or they won't have anything. And you click on three buttons, you've got content everywhere. So I just really wanted to compliment you on that.
Well, Kevin, you and I talked. I've been a musician for a while, but mainly what I've been is an advertising guy and a writer. So, all that content there, I created because that's really my home base. I know how to do this kind of
I
stuff.
knew it would be good. I knew it would be good from your past career, and I read that that you write all the copy for the website and the blog. And I was this is going to be kind of shocking to our listeners, but I hear that you don't let the tellers review their drafts prior to publication. I did hear about
Yeah.
that.
I'm so tired of my stuff being scribbled on, man. I get enough grief from those guys.
So yeah, so Chris has on his site on his website a little industry joke, and just great stuff. It's but there's so much great content on there. So again,
Thank you.
there's so much to see, so much to read and
Yeah.
follow.
Oh,
So
that means a lot because you are a music guy, and I love that, man. And that's who I write it for. People say, "Well, that's nobody will read all that." I said, "I know, and that's why I felt as an advertising guy is that not everybody's going to read your stuff, but what about that poor person out there who loves your stuff and wants more? Why would you, for lack of a better word, screw that person?
right, right, exactly. And there are people out there who just
They
love the
love it.
music so much they eat, drink, and sleep music like we do, and they
Yeah,
want to read the deep stuff. And they'll
they
come to
do.
you when you're out there doing shows. They'll say, that one video, I noticed that when you sang and you turned to the left, I mean, they're gonna watch that stuff. They're gonna read that
Yeah.
stuff. That's what it's
Well,
for.
that's there for those folks, Kevin, and you too.
Well, I thank you. I think it's wonderful. I've never wanted to endorse the website more, because there's stuff to look at.
Well, that's
So.
great. Thank you.
So, how does it feel to look at 2025 in the rearview mirror and think about all that you accomplished last year musically?
Well, it's kind of it's a blur, it's a dream, it's a joy. Nothing ever upsets me about this business because I do it because it's a joy. It's fun. I love it. So looking back in the rearview mirror, we had a release, an album release in April called Live in Clarksdale. And the thing did well on blues charts and around the world. And then my record label submitted it for Grammy consideration, which, that's unbelievable. That's enough right
Yeah,
there. We're not going
right.
to get a Grammy, but to even be submitted to be considered is a big deal.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, and so and I did an award show where I was asked to come present an award at the Grand Ole Opry for
Oh,
music, and
wow.
so to hang backstage with a bunch of musicians and so forth, it's really been a whirlwind. And a couple of things we've been working on lately is I've been working with a producer in Nashville, Tennessee, we got more new music coming, Kevin, that we've been producing, and his whole genre is film and television. So we'll see if we're successful in getting any of our music in that direction. Nothing at this point, but we're pursuing it, and it's a ball, man. I recorded in Nashville here just a couple of weeks ago, so we'll see what happens.
So yeah, I mean, I would think just recording down in Nashville, just being there, the aura of Nashville, any building, any space. It doesn't have to be the Music City sign and the big, it doesn't have to
Yeah,
be Sun Studios, but just being down there,
yeah.
that feeling of I'm doing what I want to do and I'm recording music. I'm living my dream out.
Yeah, and the producer was new to me. I'd never worked with him. The engineer, I didn't know that guy. And we had a guitar and steel guitar, and I didn't know
Oh,
that
cool.
guy. And we had a drummer, I didn't know that guy. And you kind of show up, and it's like, fellas, we're going to make some music, and you do, and you make it happen, and it was fun. These are just such good musicians to be involved with, and it was a new song I wrote with Ralph Carter, my co-writer,
Right,
and
right.
so it's fun to write new songs. I love writing lyrics, so it was a lot of fun.
I always enjoy going back and looking at the history of different producers and different writers and whatnot. And we had talked the one time that Ralph, had written songs with Eddie Money. I look
Yeah,
on Eddie's most famous album, No Control, and there's
yeah,
Ralph with some of these big songs. And it's like just a
yeah.
neat thing that you're walking through life doing your music and you get some help from some people that have just really made a mark in the business to really help you make your own mark now. And
Yeah, it's
you're making that mark.
Yeah, I've only run into nice people, Kevin. It's kind of weird. I don't know, maybe I don't know, and maybe there's a different side of it that I don't see. I'm not a big time, act out here, but it's just a lot of people trying to make good music and be good people, and so it's really rewarding. I mean, things like talking to you, this is just so great.
I think it's probably very different in Nashville than it would be in New York or LA. I'm sure it's so
Yeah,
much more fast paced and people are a little more about the almighty dollar. And I think that might be something that happens, from here to there. And
yeah,
so it's I mean, in Nashville, everybody knows everybody. It seems like you don't even have to be in the music business, or you all are in the music business down there. That your neighbor
yeah,
is a songwriter, the person two doors down is a producer, and I've talked. So many people have just said, yeah, everywhere you go, you meet music people because that's a music town.
yeah,
Yeah, and I think the other thing is right back at you on this is that people work with you and they see how nice you are and how willing to work with them, and they want to help you. They want to see you succeed because you're not coming in there demanding and say, okay, I want the drums here, I want to hear that. No, too loud, too soft. And it is you get what you give out, and that's a great that I want to be your best client. That's just wonderful. That's something that would stick with anybody, I think, that really cared
oh
about their
man,
job.
it's the
You know,
best. It was 20 years ago. I love it. She was
it's still
terrific.
right there, right in the front of the brain. Yeah, no, that's fantastic.
Exactly.
Um, so here we are in the second month of 2026, and you're releasing this new song here for Valentine's Day right here this week,
Yeah.
called "Her Name in My Song," and it's been
Yeah.
released to coincide with Valentine's Day, but it's not your traditional love song. Why is that, Chris? Tell us a little bit about why
Well,
it wouldn't be considered that way.
I usually make notes about songs I write. So I made some notes at the time. I wrote this in 2022, and it said I came up with this is writing to myself. I
Yeah,
came up with the song title first, and I envisions writing a song about a guy who puts the name of his girlfriend in his song. And I thought, well, there's nothing there. That song's been done 1,000 times. And then more I thought about it, I wonder, well, what if the song title didn't mean that at all? Instead of writing a song about the guy putting her name in a song, what if the song became how he is never going to put her name in his song? And so, you get
it's
Valentine's
great.
Day.
Yeah, it's a
So
great, it's a flipped concept. I love
it's
it,
a
love it,
flip
love it.
concept. Yeah, that's where
Yeah,
it came from. And, for a lot of people, Valentine's Day just conjures up all those people you kind of had a bad relationship with, and you're still a little ticked off about it. Well,
yeah.
this song is for you. So if you listen to the lyrics, and I think you've listened to it, Kevin, at the end, it says, I'm not going to put her name in my song. So that's really it's just kind of funny. I get a chuckle out of it.
I like the I can't, I won't, not gonna put her name in my song. I've highlighted it here. I don't know if you can
Look
see.
at you.
I highlighted that right there at
Oh,
the
look
end
at
there.
that. Oh, that's
I
great.
love that. I love that. I can't, I won't, not gonna. And I also like when earlier in the song when um you say how did it happen? Why did it end? What did I do? What didn't I say? I love that sentence right there. What
Oh,
didn't
that's
I
so
say?
nice. I like that, because I remember writing it and I said, what did I say? And I thought, no, everybody says that. So I'm trying to flip everything around in this
It's great.
song.
It's
Oh,
so good because you think there's so many hundreds of thousands, millions of songs out there, and sometimes the formula can be the same, and you found a way in this song, in those two places specifically, to really flip it on its head, and I love it. I like I said, I highlighted it because it really stood out with me, and it's
oh,
cool. It's really cool.
I can't thank you enough for seeing that, because I'm writing this. I'm like, I don't know that anybody's ever going to see or hear or think about that, but you do, and man, you're good at what you do, Kevin. That's
Well,
awesome.
if someone with my empty brains sometimes can see that, then wait till the real music people wait when they see it. They'll be all over it. If I could see it, wait till the music buying public hears it because they'll figure it out. They will.
The other thing about, and I'll be interested in your opinion, but the music's very sweet and gentle, and so it's got kind of a love song, but the lyrics are rather
Got that
brutal.
little turn in the yeah, a little bit, right? And so people are really gonna get a chance to hear this as after we talk about it now, and they're gonna go right to their, wherever they listen to music and hear it, and they'll see what we're talking about, and they'll really enjoy it. And say, "Oh yeah, I remember when they said this. I remember when they said that."
Yeah.
Because we're doing a play-by-play on this song. We're taking it apart a little bit. But yeah, it's really neat, and it's going to be good for people that are not traditionally happy at this time of year. And there's a lot of people, a lot of relationships going south or
Yeah.
north or north.
And I recorded this song in 2022. So here it is, 2026. And it was one of those songs that my first album, it's back there on the wall, Stuck in the Mud, very blues oriented album. And we were in the studio there in Muscle Shoals and we had this one. And it's like, I want to record it. And, I was still trying to figure out who's Christopher Wise and the Tellers. And so we had a few songs we recorded that have never seen the light of day. And this was one of them. And I'm like, hey, let's pull that one out. So, I mean, it's not a blues song. It's completely different. And I think it's a very pretty song that
It
I
is.
love the music that Ralph Carter came up with and produced. And, we were in the studio there and we pretty much had the tracks put down. And then Ralph said, I want to do a Fender 6 bass. And you know that sound, Kevin. I think, and I call it the Glenn Campbell sound.
Oh yeah.
And we had finished the song, and Ralph in the control room there at the recording studio said, you know what? Hook me up here. I'm going to lay down this part. And boom, we ran through the whole song. Ralph played it flawlessly, one take. And now we've got two bass instruments playing on the song, along with some beautiful guitar work and keyboards and drums and all that. So Ralph just added an incredible sparkle with the second bass, which you don't often think about in a
Right.
song.
Right. Well, too, I mean, it's got I'm sure we talked about this before, but it's got to be so rewarding to hear your song come to life with first these musicians that you had not met before, and they're able to understand the language of music that you're explaining to them, and then Ralph comes in, adds the second bass into there, and I mean, and it comes to life. It's got a new life. At one point it was, a couple pages of lyrics here in a book,
Yeah,
and now it's become a life of its own. It takes on a life of its own, and it's always different than what it starts out to be, as far as like, you got a couple chords and then all of a sudden you've got this orchestra rock band, this orchestra of a
yeah.
quintet of people or quartet. Well, quintet if you count the double bass there. Yeah.
Right.
So
And, it starts, Kevin, as Ralph strumming a guitar and me singing with him, just making the chord changes. And then, to turn that into a full, kind of five-course meal is kind of fun, you
yeah,
know?
it's got to be so rewarding. You just got to pinch yourself and say, if this is my song, this is how it started and here's where it ended
Yeah.
up. It's got to be so neat, so it's
And even this song, you mentioned the lyric sheet. It was funny. I was pulling those back out, and I think I walked into the voice booth there with the lyrics, and I know some of the words I changed on the fly. It just didn't sound right to me. So I was looking at the lyric sheet. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not what we recorded. And there was one line in there that Ralph, he's like, I'm not getting that line. And I remember he and I went around for like 10 or 15 minutes on one line to try and twist it around and get it correct to where, and he finally said, that makes perfect sense to me. And that's what I try to do with lyrics is I don't want to lose anybody. You know, if you're willing to listen to my lyrics, I want to not, I don't too often want to, have kind of Beatlesy lyrics like, what did he mean? Told you,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, toe
Yeah,
jam
yeah, yeah, yeah.
football and stuff
Sure.
like
Yeah,
that
yeah,
from
right,
the
right,
Beatles.
right. Yep, no
So
mysteries. Yeah.
no, I have one song where I wrote a mystery line. I had this guy, and he's talking to a guy, and this guy's a trucker, and he doesn't have a family. He's always been on the road, and he utters this line in the song, and he says, "And what the hell's an ex-wife?" And it's kind of out of the blue, but it was this thing about I'm thinking he runs into everybody in every town, and he's sitting at the bar at Applebee's having dinner, and the
Yeah.
guy next to him in every damn town is bitching about his
Right,
ex-wife.
right, right.
Well, this guy doesn't even he doesn't have a wife. He doesn't know what an ex-wife is. He didn't even know what a wife is.
His wife is his truck, is
Hey,
basically,
there you
right?
go.
That's his work wife,
So
the truck.
yeah, so that was my one obscure Beatle line I think I threw into a song once.
Good to throw those in every once in a while, you know. But it is nice to also to be able to hear a song where you are understanding, or it's sometimes you hear people say too they think they realize what the song is about, and then the artist explains it. It's completely different, but it's not meant to be cryptic. It's just I remember when I was in high school, or my English teacher would say, "Well, this book has three levels. On the one level, they're playing baseball. The second level, blah blah blah. On the third level, they're in this ethereal kind of world." And it's like so there's different levels of songs, and I've always heard artists say, well, if someone gets something different out of it, then good for them. If they get something different than what I'm trying to say, then good for them. As long as they're not
I,
trying to dissect my brain and tell me what it means, because I know what it means and I wrote it.
yeah, I'm like you. I was a writer. I was a journalism guy in college. So I mean, I've studied writing and all that stuff.
Yeah,
I'm in these literature classes, and they're saying, "Well, hey, this J. Edgar Prufrock guy or whatever, that's not what this is about." I'm like,
right.
I don't know, man. I don't know what kind of wacky tobacco you've been after, but
I know. I tell
I'm
you,
not seeing it, man.
I remember those days. I was like, well, how is that the third level?
No, I
So
don't get that.
Um, so we talked about the song being kind of not traditional love and candy. And I
Yeah,
love the album cover. I want to share this with the audience because it's
cool.
the single cover, I should say, the single cover deal.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but I want to share this, and I think they'll love it here. Isn't that cool? I mean, look at a broken heart of those pieces of candy. Now they won't break that nice. But it's perfect. It's a perfect picture because you're thinking it's a perfect heart broken. And then you look at if you really take the time to look at details, and again, you're a marketing PR person, and you
yeah,
took time. Those hearts are not just random. You see them all. There's repeated ones right up there. Best day and you shine, and you see them all right up in the
yeah,
front. If you look
yeah.
10 feet to the back, there's that one green one. No, I know I'm just joking, but the ones that you could see in the front vision,
Yeah.
there was obviously some time taken to do this, and it's just really neat. It's a neat thing there.
Well, I'm an ad guy, and I always feel like if I can get a concept, and I had that concept of, I'm gonna put this on one of those, the name of the song on this little candy heart, and then I'm gonna break the darn thing. So I thought, can I, in one image, capture the essence of that song? And I hope it does. But that,
Oh man, it translates. It's awesome. I saw that. I was like, that's the top of the cake. That's the
oh, that's
frosting.
so
Oh
cool,
my
man.
goodness. Yeah. Yeah.
And people ask me, well, how do you do that? I'm using AI, Kevin, and people could say, well, Chris, that's no good, and you're putting art directors out of business. And I worked with these guys for years, and I look at a project like this, and it's like there's really no budget to hire somebody, a great designer, to do a little thumbnail for Spotify
Right.
for a single. And so I work in my world of advertising was always working with illustrators, photographers, video people, and explaining to them my vision. and having them create it for me
Right.
to my direction. And I'm using AI that way. I'm treating it like I'm the creative director. I'm explaining to an illustrator or to a designer exactly what I'm looking for. So the prompt for that was probably hundreds of words that I explained how I want that illustration to look, how I
It came
want the
out great.
lighting to look,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. So
And it just
just
took it all that you said and it kind of made it into that. That's amazing.
yeah, and I'm used to working with photographers, commercial photographers and so forth, and you got to talk about that. You're like, wait a minute, I got to have a shadow at the top because I'm gonna put the logo up there, so I got to have these things flowing off the screen and going blurry and turning dark, and there's all sorts of mechanical things you got to think about. And my career was spent thinking about that stuff. So now when I do it for my band, it's like second nature to me. How you create, graphics, copy, websites, all of this stuff that as an artist today, you have to have all that support.
Yeah, right. And like you said, where's the budget for that when you're just starting out and trying to make a name in the business? There's not, these big Hollywood budgets
No,
to do this. So you're doing, I think so a lot of times people say, oh, well, even using keyboards that have digitally sampled sounds and,
right,
it's hard to replace the real instruments. But if you're a home recording artist and you don't have a studio budget or something, I love having, I mean, I will always fight for a trumpet or a violin to be
sure,
the real instrument if it can be, in a
yeah.
pit orchestra or something like that for a Broadway musical. But if I'm at home and writing the music, it's nice to have that technology as a key because I don't have the budget for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't use those to write my songs.
Right,
I don't. I mean, I'm not going to go there because I wouldn't feel like it was mine.
right.
But I might say, hey, I'm looking for a word that means aggressive, but not in the sense of trying to rip someone's throat out. More in this, and I might write a 50-word prompt to look for a word. Where before I would use a thesaurus.
I was gonna say the same thing. I got a thesaurus in my music room, and that's just basically using an electronic thesaurus.
It
You know,
is. And, I might say, hey, I want a three-syllable word that means to, bury the hatchet. And I might
yeah,
spend, and I could spend an hour and a half and it almost never gives me the answer, Kevin. That's the thing I find interesting.
yeah.
When people say, well, you're cheating. It's like, no, it usually just gets my brain thinking. It gives me some ideas. I'm like, that's not right. That's not right. Oh, wait a minute. That one popped into my head. That's right.
And
And,
that's part of the process. Then, yeah, yeah,
another thing I want to mention, you see on the wall there, stuck in the mud, you see a little illustration of me. I mean, that is one of our great illustrators out here. He's a guy named Coldo Barrasso. See me up there? I
yeah.
took 3,000 what I call reference art photos of me. 3,000, not, and I counted them because I'm like, I wonder how many shots I gave Coldo for that. It was 3,000.
Wow.
Believe it or not, it was hours in my basement doing different poses with that shovel, without the shovel, tilting my head, and that goes into creating hopefully great imagery and great product for our fans who plunk down the money and get a CD. And I put a 20-page booklet in there. I put 6 panels. I've got photographs everywhere. I got the story of the album. So it's kind of like that website. I can't help myself.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, that's what I love about the CD itself, the CD configuration is that you can or a record, the gatefold record, open it up, or whether
Yeah.
it be a record or a CD, and read the liner notes. And someone like you're just like the website you said. I'm telling you, audience here, when you see the website, think about what the CD would look like. Think about in paging through a CD with some liner notes and different and it's always neat to hear the story about the song. There was a period of time when I was reading a lot of books and a lot of autobiographies about musicians, and I got kind of I'd have my subscription to Rolling Stone, and I got kind of turned off because they all had these like really really dark lives, and just you know what I mean. A lot of them did, not all of them, but a lot of them did, and
Yeah.
I didn't really want to hear about that. And it kind of turned me off. So I started to I walked away from some of that, and then I said to myself, I'm gonna block out all that. That's their life. That's how they choose to live. If that's their, I mean, I don't choose to live that way, but I'm going to read about how the song was crafted and who did they know that they wrote the song with, or how did that lyric come out. I love that stuff. And so I blurred all the other junk out and I love to read about, oh, I was a chance meeting with this artist, and we wrote a duet. One night we were in the same town touring, and we sat down and did. I love reading those stories. You didn't even know the two people knew each other, or
Yeah.
what, or I wrote this song because, which is what you're putting in your liner notes, or
Yeah.
when you explain things, you have notes on notes. That's great, great.
Yeah, and all my liner notes are on my website. You can go get the
Yeah,
20-page booklet on my website. Go look at it, folks. The lyrics are all there. What the heck? We're doing, I know how, I feel like I learned in the advertising world how to do things well, and I want to do that for the product we put out there as well.
yeah. Well, exactly. Anybody who knows you wouldn't expect anything less because they know that that's where your brain is. Your creative brain has been in that business for so many years. They're expecting the best. No pressure, no pressure at all.
Well, I'm not sure it's the best, but it's the best I can do.
Well, that says a lot, though. That says a lot. I know it does. I know it does.
Yeah, yeah.
Just going back to the whole process of how things have built over this last year. What was your favorite chart? I mean, I have all sorts of chart stats that I've heard about, and after a while, maybe when people tell you things that, when you're talking to somebody, say, well, you were at number this and number that, and which accolade meant the most last year?
At the end of the year, the Roots Music Report does the top 200 blues albums of the year. And goodness sakes, over there,
Yeah,
Live in Clarksdale came in at number 28, which this is really cool. But the thing I think that I took the greatest joy out of was this other album that released a year and a half earlier is still
yeah,
on the chart, and it was number 93. It's still in the top 100 in the world for streaming and radio play on the Roots Music Report chart. And I'll just say this, but there's only one artist on that chart that came out at the end of the year that had two records in the top 100, and it was those guys there, right there, Christopher Wise and the Tellers. So, to me, to know that people didn't forget our earlier music and liked our new music, these two albums just continue to keep showing up on radio and charts and it just kind of it's really cool. I mean, it's very rewarding to see that.
it has to be. It has to be. And it makes me want to kind of just search around myself and go to like blues radio channels and see what their playlists are and say, Chris, you're over there. Chris, you're over here. Look did you hear the one in Australia? Did you hear the one?
I
Because
know.
it's blowing up. This is so exciting. So
Yeah, is it
exciting.
blowing up? You got to keep in mind, I think, Kevin, and you know this, that blues is a very small genre of the world. I look at rock and roll back on your wall there, and you got some beautiful, great album art and some wonderful music. Oh, I keep remarking about Supertramp up there. That's one of my favorite albums of all time.
Yeah.
And I've seen Supertramp, which I saw them in a small theater before they blew up, which was crazy, playing Crime of the Century to about
Oh,
200 people.
wow. Isn't that neat? We were just talking about that last night with some people, and saying how like the Who had played in a small club in Chicagoland, a small tiny club when they first started, and these bands that some of my, I'm just a young one here in my 50s, and as I age, I realize that there's not too many people who are, older than me anymore. It starts to, get that we're all moving that direction. But I do have a few people in the industry that I work with that just a couple years older than me, and they saw some of those shows. We were talking about it last night, and how I was too young to see those couple things, like to see the Who in a shopping plaza, strip mall, in a little tiny bar
Yeah.
in the corner. I can't imagine. Can't imagine.
Well, I saw Billy Joel in that very same small theater in Indianapolis, right around the time Piano Man, the album, was being released. So that's what really blew
Wow.
him up. But it wasn't a big crowd, and it was cool.
It's yeah. I just to see those kinds of things, and when I had worked with one of the record labels, a lot of people that I worked with, they were at some of those shows that I just can't even imagine them being at. I can't even I can't imagine them actually seeing firsthand before like Led Zeppelin blew up. I mean, crazy at a little club with Led Zeppelin. I just can't imagine
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So.
It's all cool
Um,
stuff, man.
But Chris, I really wish you the best of luck with this new single, and it's just another stepping stone upward. It's upward, onward and upward, because it's just really like I told you about how my friend, I had shared with him the story that we had done this, and he's a blues guy. He's actually the guy who played last night.
Oh,
We were
yeah,
talking offline a little bit about a show, and
yeah.
he's the guy who played offline last night. He played last night in a club in the city here, and I told him about it, and then you don't know until you get more feedback. And he came back the next couple of days later, or maybe 2 weeks later, and said, "Hey, the guy you did the interview with, he's on this blues chart. I got this in my email because he eats, sleeps, and drinks blues, and he got this. So it brought your name to life. And
Yeah.
one person at a time, maybe two at a time, we're gonna get people to know this album. I'll tell you, it's an exciting thing to watch, and it couldn't happen to a nicer person.
Well, thank you very much. We're going to try to make a new album this year also, Kevin, so we'll keep you posted on that.
Please, and we'd love to, when that's out and rolling, we'd love to talk about it, break it down, and share it with the audience. So.
Awesome. I love what you do for your fans, and I tell people, I get to talk to Kevin today, seriously, because you're one of the good guys in this industry too. You do your homework, you listen. I mean, you read the lyrics. Good gracious, my friend. Kudos to you. What a great show you do. Thank you for
Thank
having
you, thank you. That means so much to me. It really does. I don't know what to say. It really means a lot to me because I'm just me. I'm just me. I wake up in the morning and do these things, and then I go to work, and it's just like what a great life it is to get to interact with people like yourself in the business who are finding successes and come from a background where they decide to make a switch because so many people. Not that the advertising world was a bad world because you did it for many years and it was fun. But
Great.
sometimes people they always wonder what else is out there and they never
Yeah.
take that leap of faith. Or maybe they don't like their job as much as you enjoyed your career in the industry, and they just stay miserable their whole life. You had the best of both worlds. You enjoyed what you got to do. It's a cool industry, and then you said, okay, but I've done it long enough, and I'm gonna do my music and look at where it's taking you. So,
Well, it's all good, man. You got a lot of cool stuff going on too. Thanks
well,
for
thank
having me,
you.
Kevin.
Absolutely. We'll talk soon, and I'm looking forward to getting some feedback from people about this new single. So
Great.
congratulations on
Her
that,
name in my
and
song, man. Go for it.
love it.
All
Thanks so
right.
much, Chris.
See you, Kevin. Bye bye.
Bye bye.